Hello and good day. For today, our topic is still cost segregation techniques. Last time, diniscuss ko na yung high-low method. This time, i-discuss ko naman yung least squares method at scattergraph method. The second cost segregation technique is the least squares method. The least squares method is a statistical technique that investigates the association between dependent and independent variables. In other words, this method investigates the association between x and y. Recall sa ating cost function, ang x ang independent variable at ang y ang dependent variable. Actually, this method is considered to be the most accurate. This method is considered to be the most accurate since this method derives the fixed and variable cost by means of statistical analysis. And since this method is statistically based, mas magiging komplikado ang computation. And aside from the fact that it derives the fixed and variable cost by means of statistical analysis, itong method din kasi na to, ginagamit niya lahat ng data for the computation. Unlike sa high-low method na kung saan 2 points lang ang ginagamit sa computation, the highest point and the lowest point. But in this method, gagamitin natin lahat ng given na data. In this method, ang gagamitin na formula para makompute yung B ay B is equal to summation of xy minus n times x bar or mean of x times y bar or mean of y over summation of x raised to the power of 2 minus n times x bar raised to the power of 2. As you can see, since this method is statistically based, meron kayong makikitang summation, x bar, y bar, at n or number of observations. In this formula, ang ibig sabihin ng x bar or mean of x, kukunin natin yung average ng x. And of course, yung y bar or mean of y, kukunin naman natin dyan yung average ng y. Yung n naman dito, ang ibig sabihin niya, number of observations. Let us now answer problems using the least squares method. Problem number 1, the Chief Finance Officer of ABC Corporation is analyzing the relationship of its electricity costs and the number of batches produced. The following data are assembled for this purpose. For the month of January, the number of batches is 4, and the electricity cost is 22,000 pesos. For the month of February, the number of batches is 7, and the electricity cost is 30,000 pesos. For the month of March, the number of batches is 5, and the electricity cost is 25,000 pesos. For the month of April, the number of batches is 2 and the electricity cost is 15,000 pesos. For the month of May, the number of batches is 3 and the electricity cost is 21,000 pesos. For the month of June, the number of batches is 6 and the electricity cost is 29,000 pesos. And for the month of July, the number of batches is 8 and the electricity cost is 36,000 pesos. Requirement: determine the total fixed cost and variable cost rate of electricity using the least squares method. The first thing that you should do is to prepare 4 columns for x, y, xy, and x raised to the power of 2. Recall that x is the cost driver and y is the total cost or mixed cost. Ang x dito sa problem ay yung number of batches at ang y ay yung electricity cost. Ang number of batches ay 4, 7, 5, 2, 3, 6, and 8. Ang electricity cost naman ay 22,000 pesos, 30,000 pesos, 25,000 pesos, 15,000 pesos, 21,500 pesos, 29,000 pesos, and 36,000 pesos. Next, XY. Ang ibig sabihin ng XY dito ay kukunin natin yung product ng X at Y. 4 times 22,000 pesos, that is equal to 88,000 pesos. 7 times 30,000 pesos, that is equal to 210,000 pesos. 5 times 25,000 pesos, ilan yan? 125,000 pesos. 2 times 15,000 pesos, that is equal to 30,000 pesos. 3 times 21,500 pesos, that is equal to 64,500 pesos. 6 times 29,000 pesos, ilan yan? 174,000 pesos. And last, 8 times 36,000 pesos, that is equal to 288,000 pesos. Next, x raised to the power of 2. That means you have to multiply the x by itself. 4 times 4, that is equal to 16. 7 times 7, that is equal to 49. 5 times 5, that is equal to 25. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. 3 times 3 is equal to 9. 6 times 6 is equal to 36. And 8 times 8 is equal to 64. Since alam na natin yung data, pwede na natin makompute yung summation of x, summation of y, summation of xy, and summation of x raised to the power of 2. Unahin natin yung summation of x. Para makuha yung summation of x, i-add lang natin lahat ng values ng x. 4 plus 7 plus 5 plus 2 plus 3 plus 6 plus 8, that is equal to 35. Next, same process sa summation of y. 22,000 plus 30,000 plus 25,000 plus 15,000 plus 21,500 plus 29,000 plus 36,000. That is equal to 178,500 pesos. Next, summation of xy. 88,000 plus 210,000 plus 125,000 plus 30,000 plus 64,500 plus 174,000 plus 288,000. That is equal to 979,500. Next, summation of x raised to the power of 2. 16 plus 49 plus 25 plus 4 plus 9 plus 36 plus 64, that is equal to 203. Meron na tayong summation of x, summation of y, summation of xy, and summation of x raised to the power of 2. Ang kulang na lang ay yung n, x bar or mean of x at y bar or mean of y. N is basically the number of observations. Dito sa problem, meron tayong 7 na months, may 7 na number of batches, at may 7 na electricity cost. Therefore, the number of observations is 7. Next, x bar or mean of x. Ang ibig sabihin ng mean, average. Therefore, para makuha yung average or mean of x or x bar, kailangan nating i-divide yung 35 sa number of observations. Kailangan nating i-divide yung 35 sa 7. 35 divided by 7, that is equal to 5. Para naman makompute yung y bar or mean of y or average of y, kailangan nating i-divide yung summation of y sa number of observations. Kailangan nating i-divide yung 178,500 ng 7. 178,500 divided by 7, that is equal to 25,500. At this point, pwede na nating makompute yung variable cost rate or B. Ang formula ay B is equal to summation of xy minus n times x bar times y bar over summation of x raised to the power of 2 minus n times x bar raised to the power of 2. I-substitute lang natin yung mga values na na-compute natin kanina. Variable cost rate or B is equal to 979,500 minus 7 times 5 times 25,500 over 203 minus 7 times 5 raised to the power of 2. Kunin muna natin yung product ng 7, 5, at 25,500. 7 times 5 times 25,500, ilan yan? 892,500. Therefore, it will become 979,500 minus 892,500. Next, 5 raised to the power of 2, ilan yan? 5 times 5, that is equal to 25. That will become 203 minus 7 times 25. Next, 979,500 minus 892,500. Ilan yan? 87,000 pesos. 203 minus 7 times 25. Ilan yan? 28. Therefore, B is equal to 3,107.14. 87,000 divided by 28, that is equal to 3,107.14. And that 3,107.14, that is the variable cost rate. Since na-compute na natin yung variable cost rate, pwede na rin nating makompute yung fixed cost or the total fixed cost. Use the cost formula y is equal to a plus bx. Recall that a here is the total fixed cost. Take note, yung y na tinutukoy dito ay yung mean of y. At yung tinutukoy na x dito, yan yung mean of x. Take note of that, baka kasi ang kunin nyo ay yung summation of x at summation of y. Again, yung x dito, yan yung x bar or mean of x. Yung y ay yung y bar or mean of y. I-substitute lang natin yung mga values. 25,500 is equal to A plus 3,107.14 times 5. That will become 25,500 is equal to A plus 15,535.7. Since ang kinukompute dito is yung fixed cost or A is equal to 25,500 minus 15,535.7. That will become A is equal to 9,964.3. And that 9,964.3, that is the total fixed cost. Although hindi ni-require sa problem na i-determine yung cost function, yung cost function para dito ay y is equal to 9,964.3 plus 3,107.14x. Let us now proceed to the second problem. German companies' total overhead costs at various levels of activity are presented below. For the month of March, the machine hours are 500 and the total overhead costs amount to 970 pesos. For the month of April, the machine hours are 400 and the total overhead costs amount to 851 pesos. For the month of May, the machine hours are 600 and the total overhead costs amount to 1,089 pesos. And for the month of June, the machine hours are 700 and the total overhead costs amount to 1,208 pesos. The breakdown of the overhead costs in April at 400 machine hour level of activity is as follows. Supplies, variable, 260 pesos. Salaries, fixed, 300 pesos. Utilities, mixed, 291 pesos. For a total of 851 pesos. Requirement number 1, how much of June's overhead cost of 1,208 pesos consisted of utilities cost? Requirement number 2, using least squares method, determine the cost function for total overhead costs. And requirement number 3, what would be the total overhead costs if operating level is at 200 machine hours? Let us now answer requirement number 1. How much of June's overhead cost of 1,208 pesos consisted of utilities cost? We can answer this requirement by using the breakdown of the overhead costs in April. In April, the level of activity is at 400 machine hours. In April, yung supplies na variable cost ay 260 pesos. Yung salaries na fixed cost ay 300 pesos. At yung utilities na mixed cost ay 291 pesos. All in all, the total overhead costs amount to 851 pesos. In June, the machine hours are 700 hours. At sinabi dito sa problem na ang total overhead cost sa June ay 1,208 pesos. In order to supply the missing amounts in June, kailangan nating gamitin yung data sa April. Sa 1,208 pesos na yan, ilan ba ang variable cost, ilan ba ang fixed cost, at ilan ba ang mixed cost? Unahin natin yung supplies na variable cost. Recall na ang behavior ng variable cost is that it varies directly with the change in cost driver or level of activity. That means, sa June, dahil 700 hours ang level of activity, tataas din ang variable cost. Para makompute yung variable cost sa June, ang gagawin natin, 260 divided by 400 hours times 700 hours. 260 divided by 400 times 700, that is equal to 455. Next, salaries, which is a fixed cost. Dahil fixed cost yan, that means hindi pa rin siya magbabago. The fixed cost or the total fixed cost is constant regardless of the level of activity. Therefore, sa June, ang fixed cost ay 300. Of course, sa mixed cost, para makuha natin yung mixed cost, kailangan nating i-squeeze yung amount. 1,208 pesos minus 455 pesos minus 300 pesos, that is equal to 453 pesos. Therefore, ang answer sa number 1 ay 453 pesos. Next, requirement number 2, using least squares method, determine the cost function for total overhead costs. Of course, in order to answer this question, determine the cost function for total overhead costs, kailangan muna nating makompute yung B at A. Same process, prepare 4 columns for X, Y, XY, and X raised to the power of 2. X is the cost driver and Y is the total cost. Therefore, ang X dito ay yung machine hours at ang Y ay yung total overhead costs. Ang machine hours ay 500, 400, 600, and 700. Ang Y ay 970, 851, 1,089, and 1,208. Next, XY, imumultiply natin yung X sa Y. 500 times 970, ilan yan? 485,000 pesos. Next, 400 times 851, that is equal to 340,400. Next, 600 times 1,089, ilan yan? 653,400. And last, 700 times 1,200, that is equal to 845,600. Next, X raised to the power of 2. 500 times 500, that is equal to 250,000. Next, 400 times 400, that is equal to 160,000. Next, 600 times 600, that is equal to 360,000. And 700 times 700, that is equal to 490,000 pesos. After that, pwede na nating makompute yung summation of X, summation of Y, summation of XY, and summation of X raised to the power of 2. Ang summation of X ay 2,200. Paano na-compute? 500 plus 400 plus 600 plus 700. Next, summation of y, 970 plus 851 plus 1089 plus 1208. The summation of y is equal to 4118. Next, summation of xy, 485,000 plus 340,400 plus 653,400 plus 845,600. The summation of xy is equal to 2,324,400. Next, x raised to the power of 2. Kukunin natin yung summation of x raised to the power of 2. 250,000 plus 160,000 plus 360,000 plus 490,000. Ilan yan? 1,260,000. Since na-compute na natin yung summation of x, summation of y, summation of xy, and summation of x raised to the power of 2, ang kulang na lang ay n, x bar or mean of x at y bar or mean of y. Ang n or number of observations ay 4. Ang x bar ay 550. Paano yan na-compute? 2,200 divided by 4. Next, y bar or mean of y, that is equal to 1,029.5. Paano yan na-compute? 4,118 divided by 4. At this point, we can now compute for the value of b. b is equal to summation of xy minus n times x bar times y bar over summation of x raised to the power of 2 minus n times x bar raised to the power of 2. I-substitute lang natin lahat ng values. b is equal to 2,324,400 minus 4 times 550 times 1,029.5 over 1,260,000 minus 4 times 550 raised to the power of 2. 4 times 550 times 1,029.5, ilan yan? 2,264,900. Therefore, it will become 2,324,400 minus 2,264,900 over 4 times 550 raised to the power of 2. Ilan yan? 1,210,000. So that will become 1,260,000 minus 1,210,000. 2,324,400 minus 2,264,900, that is equal to 59,500. Next, 1,260,000 minus 1,210,000, that is equal to 50,000. 59,500 divided by 50,000, ilan yan? 1.19. And that is the B. B is equal to 1.19. Next, after computing the value of B, compute naman natin yung value ng A. Use the cost formula, y is equal to a plus bx. Again, yung y na tinutukoy dito, yan yung y bar. At yung x na tinutukoy dito, yan yung x bar. I-substitute lang natin yung mga values. 1,029.5 is equal to a plus 1.19 times 550. 1029.5 is equal to A plus 654.5. Yang 654.5, that is the product of 1.19 and 550. 1.19 times 550, that is equal to 654.5. Next, since ang kinocompute natin dito ay A is equal to 1029.5 minus 654.5. Therefore, A is equal to 375. Since na-compute na natin yung B at A, we can now provide the cost function for total overhead costs. Ang cost function for total overhead costs ay Y is equal to 375 plus 1.19x. At ito yung answer natin sa requirement number 2. Next, requirement number 3. What would be the total overhead costs if operating level is at 200 machine hours? In order for us to answer this requirement, total overhead costs, if operating level is at 200 machine hours, gagamitin natin yung cost function. Yung cost function ay Y is equal to 375 plus 1.19x. Isa-substitute natin yung 200 sa x. Therefore, this will become Y is equal to 375 plus 1.19 times 200. Y is equal to 375 plus 238. 375 plus 238, that is equal to 613 pesos. And that is the value of Y. At yang 613 pesos na yan yung answer natin sa number 3. Of course, just like the high-low method, ang least squares method meron din siyang advantages and disadvantages. Unahin natin yung advantages. First advantage of least squares method is the incorporation of all data in the computation and not just 2 points. Based sa mga problems na sinagutan natin, lahat ng available na data ay ginamit sa computation. At sa paggamit ng lahat ng available na data, this will result to the second advantage. The second advantage is the least squares method provides precise cost estimation. And because this provides precise cost estimation, this method is considered as the most accurate method of cost segregation. On the other hand, one disadvantage of least squares method is that outlier may be included in the computation. Of course, sa least squares method, dahil ginagamit natin lahat ng available na data, hindi natin ini-ignore ang outlier. Unlike sa high-low method na kailangang i-ignore ang outlier. Aside from that, another disadvantage of least squares method is that there is a more complex mathematical calculations. Of course, this method is statistically based. Alam naman natin na pag sinabing statistics, the calculations are more complex and procedural. The third cost segregation technique is Scattergraph Method. In this method, all observed costs at different activity levels are plotted on a graph. Based on sound judgment, a regression line is then fitted to the plotted points to represent the line function. Actually, ito yung itsura ng scattergraph. As you can see, under this method, lahat ng points ay ginagraph sa Cartesian plane. All points will be graphed on Cartesian plane. And after that, based on sound judgment, a straight line is drawn. Actually, itong method na to ang hindi pinaka-ginagamit. Why? This scattergraph method is the least used method kasi nga this is based on sound judgment. Iba't iba tayo ng sound judgment. And this makes this method the least used method. At dahil based siya sa sound judgment, this method is theoretical. This means that this method is no longer discussed because this is based on sound judgment. The reason why I included this as a cost segregation technique is for you to be aware na although itong method na to ay theoretical at based on sound judgment, this is still used as a cost segregation technique.